What Radio, the music you want.
With your host, Keys Dan.
Once again, I find myself at the mercy of someone I wouldn't let pick my nose.
RadioWhat.com.
What's up, party people? It's Keys Dan from RadioWhat.com and DJLittleRock.com. And this is my podcast, What Makes You Famous? Just a little conversation to find out more about you. Everyone has a story, and I want to hear your story. I want to learn more about you. If you want to be a part of What Makes You Famous, give me a call at 501-470-6386 or email whatmakesyouFamous@RadioWhat.com. Today on the program, Tricia Boyd. We're going to find out more about Tricia Boyd in just a few minutes. This week's shows for DJLittleRock.com. Coming up on Thursday, we got the Video Dance Party Karaoke Jam at the Old Post Barbecue in Russellville, Arkansas. Come visit with me, 6 p.m. till 9 p.m. Then on Friday night, it's the Rab in Conway, Arkansas. That starts at 8 p.m., and we don't stop till just about 2 in the a.m. Saturday, I have a wedding, private party. Excited about that. But enough about me. Let's get into it with Tricia Boyd. What makes you famous? Tricia Boyd.
Hello.
Hello, Tricia Boyd.
Hello, Don.
Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Fantastic. Welcome to What Makes You Famous.
What makes me famous, huh?
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome.
Just a little conversation about you. Tell me your whole life story now.
Okay. I could probably get that in pretty quickly. No, I'm teasing. So a lot of people, ask me to do this because it's actually pretty deep. I've lived a dark life, but I also had a great life at the same time, As a child, at the age of 5, I was actually molested by an older cousin of mine. That haunted me for many, many years. That haunted me for actually 24 years. As I got older, my family decided to move us from Arkansas to Missouri. I was about I was 8 when that happened. But my parents split up, they divorced, and my dad moved back to Arkansas with my brother, so it's just me and my mom for a very, very long time. She was working 3 jobs, going to school, and, when I had left Arkansas, the school that I was in, my class was like 20 people, like it was not a very big school. And so when my dad moved us to Missouri, I was in a class of like 300 kids. So, that was very, very different for me. It was something that I had to get used to. And when my dad moved away and, my mom was working in those jobs and going to school, like I had to do everything I could to fit in. I wasn't from here. I didn't have the name. And I say here because I'm living back up here now. I had to fight for everything. I had to fight for acceptance. I had to fight, I played sports. I tried out for the basketball team. I was on the team. I earned my spot there. But there were still pieces of me that were not whole, if you will. So at the age of 12, I started smoking and drinking. At 14, take me back. At the age of 14, I started stealing. I smoked weed on the way to school for the first time. And then I drank alcohol in the cafeteria. So 8th grade, I'm getting suspended for 10 days. I was very broken, but I didn't want to share that with people. I thought that I was this Billy badass, if you will. And I held a lot inside of me because I didn't want people to know how I felt. At the age of 15, I started dating a guy that was 5 years older than me. At the time, I thought he was just 2. He looked very young. And then later on, as we were dating, I found out that he was actually 20 when I was 15 years old. he is the one that introduced me to a very dark drug. Ecstasy was something that I had tried, but not long after that, he introduced me to meth. And for the next year and a half, after I dropped out of school, that became my drug of choice. Like, it was a horrible life for me, but I knew that's not what I wanted. And this guy, we kind of talked about it. We wanted to get out of that dark lifestyle. So I called my dad to, move back to Arkansas, thinking that was going to change things for me. Cause, I didn't have my dad in my life like I wanted, but the only way that I would go is if he would allow him to, with me. And so, at the age of 16, I'm living with my boyfriend in my dad's house because he didn't have me in his life. So he was just going to do whatever he could to have me there, And so, my senior year came, I got rid of this boyfriend, I went back to high school, by the way, and, everything was great. I got homecoming queen. Like, it was just like a fairy tale story, but it wasn't. After I graduated, I went back to this guy. In the meantime, by the way, I started dating somebody else who I'm now married to, but we'll get to that in a minute. I started, I got back with this guy, and for the next 2.5 years, I was with him, and then we got married. This was, I'd quit doing drugs. I hadn't touched them for 5.5 years. We got married, and
how old were you? How old were you when you got married?
I was 21.
21, gotcha. Continue.
Yep, 21. Everything changed literally the day that we got married, though. He threw his wedding ring at me that night. He started drinking heavily, and then abuse started happening. First, it was, verbal abuse and emotional abuse and just really tearing me down. And then it led to physical and sexual abuse. It was just a really, really horrible lifestyle. I couldn't take it anymore. The last time he had, physically and sexually hurt me, I left. This was in 2008 when the recession happened. So you can only imagine this poor 23-year-old girl, she leaves her husband. A month later, loses her job. Well, you can only imagine what was coming next, right? So I was abusing my unemployment. I stayed drunk for the next 2 years. But that wasn't enough. So here and there, I was taking pain pills. It was just, I was numb. I couldn't figure out, I'm going to start crying. I honestly couldn't figure out what it was that I couldn't be loved. And that's all I had ever wanted, was just to be loved, And this guy that I dated in high school, I got back with him about a year after me and my ex-husband split. And things were going really wonderful, but I had moved back to Arkansas at this point. Again, that was my thing. I always ran. I never stayed in one place. If things weren't going my way, I took off, because I didn't want to face my demons,
Understandable.
So I was back and forth between Texas and Arkansas and Missouri. So I moved back to Arkansas. I started dating him. And for the next couple of years, things were great, but we were staying drunk together all the time. And we were doing pain pills together all the time. We had in 2011, we had a really bad fight. And we were going down the road, and I jumped out of his truck and I tried to kill myself.
Yikes.
Yeah, it was, I was so drunk though that I was limp, that thank God, gosh, I can remember this like it was yesterday. He didn't run me over, because I was right by the tires. I mean, I literally jumped out like I was sliding into home. It was on a gravel road going about 25 miles an hour. I fractured my tailbone. It was a horrible time.
I believe you.
Thought I was going to quit. Yeah. I thought I was going to quit drinking, but guess what? I didn't. The pain just got worse. And that turned into heavier pain pills. That turned into not caring about myself. I was in this job and that job and this job and that job. Like, I just couldn't find a stable lifestyle. And where I was living at in Arkansas at this time, a very, very small town, you might know of it, but Leslie, Arkansas, it's very, very small.
I've heard of it.
Yeah. There's nothing there.
And what year was this?
This was I moved back there in 2009. So I was there between 2009 to 2014. Well, I guess I would say more like 2012, but I kind of fluctuated between Conway and Leslie a lot, because my family was in both places. Yeah. meth got introduced to me again. I hadn't touched that drug in 5.5 years. Yeah, it was 5.5 years I hadn't touched it, but I was so numb and so broken, and I didn't care about anything. So I just kind of dabbled in it here and there. It wasn't something that I was consistently doing for like the first year and a half. But then Austin and I, my husband, we split up again. We couldn't be stable for each other. He had his issues, I had my issues, and we just didn't know how to love ourselves. But we did end up getting back together. But this time it was worse because we were both so far into meth that we were not just doing the drug, but we became drug dealers. Yeah. So from 2012 to 2014, we were in so deep over our heads that we're lucky that we either didn't die or we didn't go to jail. We got pulled over multiple times. I went to jail one time, but it was for driving on a suspended driver's license because I didn't pay a ticket. So at this point now I got these warrants out for my arrest over the dumbest little things because I wasn't being responsible. I just didn't care. I was reckless. I wrecked 2 vehicles during this time. One of them I flew off a cliff and it almost killed me, but I was so high that I had no idea what was going on. Another time I ran into an old man and a child. I passed out at the wheel at this point, like I wasn't high, but I was on my way to go get drugs. And it was a really dark time in my life. And in 2014, I had sold drugs to a 15-year-old kid. And that's when I realized that I didn't want to do it anymore. My sister was 9 at the time. She's 15 now. And I knew that if I didn't make changes, that she was going to be that person that I sold to as a teenager. And I wasn't going there. June 9th, 2014, my husband and I split up and we went our separate ways. But in that time that we went our separate ways, we both went to a Christian recovery program for 14 months. That saved our lives. We learned how to love ourselves. While I was there, we couldn't have any connection. We weren't married because it was a Christian program. So we couldn't write. We couldn't have cell phones. We couldn't text. We couldn't call. It was like just devoted time to ourselves to learn how to love ourselves through the eyes of God. And I hated him while I was there. I loved him while I was there, but I honestly didn't think that me and him would ever get back together because we just weren't good for each other. We were toxic to each other, got out. And because of the growth that we had done, God blessed us back together. So that was August of 2015. And in 2017, we got married. And so we had decided that we wanted to start having a baby. Well, I struggle with that. I have a thing called endometriosis. I've had surgery to have it removed, and it's come back. It's a horrible thing that women can go through. It can be very painful. It can cause mood swings and emotions that you wouldn't think women can have. But, women can have some pretty crazy ones sometimes.
I believe you.
Yeah. And, it's really painful and it can actually affect women getting pregnant. And so I've struggled with that. And so we decided that we were looking for an extra income. And I found this company. A friend of mine, actually, she reached out to me in June of 2017 about, buying these products from her. And I kind of told her I would think about it. Well, she's a Christian friend of mine from back home. And I told her I would think about it. The very next day, she didn't miss a beat. And she said, you're super positive. You've made a huge change in your life and people need to hear your story. And at that time, I'd given my testimony at church. I'd given my testimony in front of other people, like on the street and, just different places or just one-on-one trying to help somebody who was in addiction change their lives. But at that point, when she said that, I didn't realize where I would be going with that. I didn't realize that I'd be sitting here today. But I told her I would think about it, and that night I did some research about this company and I found that it was God-centered. Well, I'd been praying for this opportunity for 4 months. She was a Christian and I said, oh, this has got to be it. So I jumped in with 2 feet and, my husband was working off. I was working 14, 16 hours a day. Within 7 months, I was able to retire from my full-time job. I've been doing this for 19 months, and together between my husband and I, we've earned a combined of over $40,000 in bonuses. We work straight from our cell phones, like we own our own time. I'm now able to start, looking for doctors to start fertility treatments. I get to share my story with people all over the world. I get to travel all the time. And next month I get to go to Canada and I get to stand on stage. You know, I told myself on January 1st, I said, you know, this year you're going to do things that are going to scare the living crap out of you, but you're going to do them no matter how scary it is. And I would have never thought that I would have been on a podcast, first of all. So
no, I appreciate it.
And number two, I've never been out of the country before. And so when I was asked, whenever I earned this bonus 2 weeks ago from some leaders of mine, if I would fly to Canada next month and share my story and my testimony, it was like, wow, like this is happening. Like when I was in rehab, they were trying to get me to stay to be a staff member. And I knew in my heart that that's not where God wanted me to be. I knew that he had something bigger and better for me. I just didn't know when, and I didn't know where. Now I know, because my platform is on social media. My platform is on the street. My platform is with family. My platform is with my friends. It's with people I've never met before. And so now I get to go to Canada and I get to share this, you know, share my story, share my testimony with people in a whole nother country that I would have never met before. And, you know, I wouldn't be where I am for a lot of different reasons, but people, there's a girl that I work with. She's been in this industry for a very long time. She kept saying over and over again, you never know when someone's journey has started to get them to where they are. So some people will move faster than others. And it didn't click on me until I took myself back to whenever I was 5 years old. And that's when my journey started. And that's just a piece of who I am. It doesn't define who I am. It doesn't define who anybody is. You know, there's unfortunate circumstances, unfortunate events that happen in our lives, you know, but that doesn't have to define who we are. And so that clicked on me. And that's when everything changed for me in my personal life, for my business. I have my best friend, she's in Canada. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her too. You know, there's been plenty of times during the last 19 months that I wanted to quit because owning your own business is hard. It really is, but it's so rewarding. And now I'm at the part of my business where I get to share the things where it took me a year to go to the fourth rank in our company where we literally get to write our paychecks. You know, it took me the falls and the breakdowns and the self-development and the books to read and the support systems that I had, but it took me making a decision that I could do it. And if it wasn't for my husband taking care of everything at home and carrying a full-time job, we may not be where we are. And so I'm just super blessed, you know?
Oh, my goodness. Tricia Boyd, I knew you had a story, but I didn't know you had a story. I said, give me your life story and go, and you went. I'm so excited to know more about you. And I'm so glad that things have turned around so much that people just want to know. They want to hear all about what happened to you in your whole life. This is incredible. What an incredible story. Are you thinking about writing a book, perhaps?
Oh, now that you're putting it out there, that might be something in the future. But right now, people have asked me that before, and I'm not at that place yet, but I'm sure at some point, you know, once I get my mind and that mindset to do it, then I'm sure that could be something that I do. But at this point in my time, I'm enjoying life because I can, and I haven't been able to do that before. My husband and I get to enjoy each other, and you know, our families didn't agree with us getting back together. Our families didn't agree with us getting married. But now that they see what we've overcome and where we are now, you know, they're a lot more supportive. And so we don't have that stress of worrying if we're upsetting anybody anymore. You know, we get to be excited about who we are and where we're going in life. And so we're just happy with that at the moment, you know?
No, it's definitely all about you. You have to take care of yourself before you can think about worrying about other people.
Absolutely. And that was one thing that my husband used to say to me all the time, but I never got when I was in my addiction all the time, because he would try to quit, but I would be the one that pressured to keep going with our addiction. And he would say to me, you know, until you learn to really love yourself, you're not going to be able to love me or anybody else. And I knew I loved him, but I didn't at that point, because my mind was in such a fog that all I cared about was how I was going to get that next fix a month from now. It was hard for me to see that anybody knew what true love was. I didn't really think it existed. I knew that there was God, but I didn't know of like what he did or what he was for. And I didn't know what the true agape of that was until I went through that recovery program and started focusing on myself for once. People say you're so selfish. Well, there's a time where you can actually be selfish while you're being selfless. And so I got to do that for 14 months. I got to be selfish because I was being selfless to my family. I was 14 months away from seeing them. I mean, they would come and visit, but I was in Knoxville and 10 hours away from my friends, my family, but that's where I needed to be. And it's kind of funny because my mom, when I was a kid, my grandpa they're from Tennessee, my mom's side of the family is. And my grandpa would take my brother to Tennessee with him all the time. And it would really upset me because I'm like, I never get to go. And I complained about that for years. And then guess what God placed me for 14 months? He's like, I'm going to show you.
Right to Knoxville.
Yeah. Right to Knoxville. So.
And you say that helped you out immensely. That you're completely off.
Yes. The program that I was at, they have an 85% success rate. There's, I'm not sure if I'm actually allowed to say the name or not, but
no, don't do it if you don't think you can.
There's over 10,000 or over 1,000 of them worldwide. It's a very amazing program. And if you go to my Facebook page, it's facebook.com/stream bigger_0409. You can actually scroll through there and you'll be able to see the program that I was at. And if you want information, I can help get you there. So if you know somebody that's for the people that are listening that could use that, just let me know. And actually, speaking of which, I told God on the first day of the month, because I was in Florida, I had a lot of volume that I needed to get, and I was going for a $25,000 bonus with my company. And I said, I don't know how it's going to happen. There's only 28 days in this month. There's not 30 or 31, but I have full trust and faith in you that you are going to provide the way, that you're going to bring the people that I need into my business. You're going to bring the customers that I need. And when you do that, I vow that for the next 12 months, I'm going to pay someone's induction fee a month for $1,000 to help them get into rehab. And so I'm excited because I earned that bonus. And so now I get to help 12 people get help. So
it sounds like you're being not only making money in your business, but you're being altruistic and giving back to the community as well.
That's a big thing for me. Even when I was in my addiction, it didn't matter how broke I was. If I had $1, if I had $100, if somebody needed it, I gave it to them. And that's the thing, a lot of people don't understand, because you don't know where someone's come from or where they've been. And it doesn't matter how much money you have or how much you don't, but usually, there's some people that are greedy and they don't want to give back and they don't want to share. But then there's others who that's all they care about. And so, it wasn't really until I joined this company that I'm with that I really started feeling the depth of how great it is to give back. We have this thing called Wealth Wednesday that we do with this safe community that I'm in, that I grow in, for my business and stuff. And so every week, we pay it forward. We buy somebody a cup of coffee. We pay for their lunch. We give somebody who's broke down on the side of the road $20 for gas, that sort of thing. And it's just been such an awesome opportunity to be a part of something so huge. And it's really taught me that I'm blessed. And so now it's time to bless somebody else. And so that's, my goal for the next year is to donate $12,000 to help 12 people to, get out of their bad area. And if they're in addiction, the thing about it is a lot of people think that this ministry program that I was in was strictly just for drug addicts, but it's not. It was for people that were just not feeling like they were accepted. It was for people with depression. It was for people that were broken, were lost, were in addiction, had a food addiction, who were overweight, who needed to get nutrition in their body, who needed to feel like they were someone that God intended them to be. And so it doesn't matter what your level is, as long as you have that desire to change it. And so I'm just super excited that I get to be a part of such an awesome gives back movement,
Well, now that I'm hearing more about how much this program helped you, I kind of want you to say it on the podcast. You might help thousands of others.
Well, I'm not 100% sure that I can say that. So that's why I suggest go to my page.
And you have it wide open on your page as well. So that's public. I couldn't see a reason why not.
You can actually go back to March 1st on my timeline where I share my story about how I overcame and like how I'm blessed about earning that $25,000 bonus because I earned it the day before. And I believe it's in a post there. It talks about the program. So I couldn't be more grateful. And if it wasn't for my executive director there, Miss Ginger, I probably wouldn't have got my butt straightened up. She'd have to put me in my place a time or two. I was on discipline. I got in trouble quite a bit because I was that girl. But it was such a humbling experience because the first 7 months that I was there, I had to ask to throw trash away. I had to ask to use the bathroom. I had to ask to get out of my seat to speak. Like it literally taught you not only that you didn't want to come back, first of all. Oh, for sure. But it also taught you to have gratitude and to be thankful. And that was the biggest thing for me is I wasn't thankful for the things that I had and grateful for them. And I was upset about the things I didn't have. And once I stopped caring about the things I didn't have, that's when I got them.
It sounds like you've worked real hard to get where you're at. My goodness, I didn't expect this. I knew you had a story. And, I didn't even know that this was a story. You were saying that you don't know where somebody came from or where they've been. And I definitely did not know where you came from and where you've been. And now you've come so far. It seems you're doing very well. Entrepreneur, if you will.
Yeah. The crazy part is when I got out of rehab, I vowed I wasn't going to speak about me being molested. I had forgiven that person, not for them, but, for myself, because I had all these demons inside of me. I got home and come to find out my own brother happened to him, same person. And so I had to speak about it. And it freed me that much more. So if you're going through something and, just remember that the book of Isaiah, 66:9, it says, I will not cause pain without allowing something new to be born. And so, like Job, for over 20 years, I was living in darkness. I was broken. I was lost. But there is more than a light at the end of the tunnel. There's a bright, beautiful, colorful world on the other side. You just have to endure the pain because your blessing is bigger than your pain.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Well, okay, let's back up quite a bit. My goodness, you just gave me so much to unpack here. Starting back at the beginning, you came from what part of Arkansas? You were born where? Leslie. I was born in Harrison, but I'm from a little community called Leslie. There's like 400 people there. Correct. Yeah, I'm very familiar with Harrison and oh yeah. Okay, so hillbilly, would that be a term?
Yeah, and maybe now, like, it's probably deeper than that because there's no school there. Me and my husband were like one of the last few to actually graduate from Leslie Public Schools until they consolidated back in 2006. And so it's like a Searcy County public school type thing there now. So, there's kids that are in the building, but there's only like 2 grades there. So when I tell you it's small, it's small. Like they have to travel to Marshall to finish their class. Oh my! So okay, what degree did you end up getting, or did you go to college? I went for a year at OTC in Springfield, Missouri, and then when I got married, I was taking a semester off so we could do a honeymoon, which we never went on, and I never went back. So understood. I have no degree. I'm nobody special. No, you definitely are special. No doubt about it. I mean, just ask Austin. But no, I seem to think so. and you've been through so much together. My goodness, just the two of you. But what a journey. A lot of people will say, most couples can't even build a house together, but y'all made it through addiction. So I would say that was a pretty good, strong standpoint for you two, but most can't even build a house. No, I mean, smoking and drinking at 12, stealing, smoking weed at 14,
dating a guy that's 5 years older than you at 15, with ecstasy. Oh my goodness. The part where you moved back to Arkansas from Missouri with your dad and you were living with a boy, did that at least give you some kind of, did you come off the drugs at that point?
We went down there to get away from them, and then I found out a cousin of mine was doing it, and I caught him. And so for a couple of months, I kind of dabbled in it a little bit, but then I did quit. That's whenever I quit. And went back to school. I played basketball again. I was getting my mind right. Like, my dad kept begging me. He was like, you need to go back to school. Like, you need to be a kid. Just be a kid. I remember calling my dad before I moved down, and I was barely 16. Or actually, I think I hadn't even turned 16 yet. I was about to. No, yeah, that's right. I was about to turn 17. So I remember telling him that I didn't want to be here anymore. Could you imagine being a parent and your daughter calling you saying she wanted to kill herself?
No.
Horrible.
No, thank you.
Yeah. And I did that to him. And so that's when I moved down there to try to get my life straight. I put my parents through hell.
So your relationship with your dad was pretty good?
Like, it wasn't that, like, I didn't have him completely in my life during that time. But, divorce is like a really messy thing.
I agree.
My parents did not get along. My brother chose to live with my dad. I chose to live with my mom. It was just like a really messy situation. So for 2 years, I didn't really have a relationship with my father like I wanted. Well, actually, it was probably longer than that. From about the time I was 12 till I was 16. So probably 4 years, but a good solid 2 years, we didn't speak at all. I'd gotten really upset with him over something really dumb at that time. And so I didn't speak to him for 2 years. And I called him up one day, and that was some of the words that I said to him. And I finally decided to move down there. But I told him the only way that I would is if I could bring my ex. Well, at the time he was my ex-boyfriend, but he is my ex-husband. And we got down there and dabbled a little bit, but I got my life straight. I went back to school. I was playing sports. Then whenever me and my ex split up, that's when I started dating my husband, who I'm with now. He was my boyfriend in high school. He's my little high school sweetheart.
See, now that's a story.
I got nominated for homecoming queen, and so he walked me. And here's what's kind of crazy about this: like, before he and I got together, he walked a girl his 8th grade year. She got homecoming queen. Walked his sister his 9th grade year. She got homecoming queen. And then the following year, he walked me, and I got homecoming queen.
The man's a lucky charm.
Yeah. And so things were great, but then we broke up, and I was broken. And I broke up with him. It was really stupid. And that's when I got back into meth again for a few months. I did, like, the end of my senior year. I dropped tremendous amount of weight. I looked miserable, but I didn't care. I hid it, but then people said something. Of course, I got defensive, that sort of thing. I told her I was taking many thins is what it was. Well, I definitely was not taking many thins. And then it was after that I stopped doing drugs for 5.5 years.
Oh my goodness. So the hard start, you got into the alcohol, the weed, and the ecstasy. Anything else?
Pain pills. Pills.
So how did you acquire all this? Because all right, your dad said when you were 16 and you moved down, you got to be a kid. You didn't. You still at 16 to 18. At least you finished high school, but were you still dabbling a little bit?
Most of my junior year, well, actually when I started, like my whole junior year and about 90% of my senior year, I was not, but it was more towards the end of my senior year. I mean, I hung out with kids, like I drank here and there like any other high school student did, if they went to a party and that kind of thing, like nothing out of the ordinary for a teenage 18-year-old, but it wasn't until after, like right before I was graduating. Oh, well, yeah, I guess I did do a couple other things. Shrooms and acid.
Now, I've heard a lot of podcasts about the mushrooms and stuff. What was your experience on that? Because people say that that's not such a bad thing on mushrooms.
I was scared to death on mushrooms. Acid, I loved it when I done it that one time. I had really bad trips when I was on shrooms, but acid, I had a really good time when I done that. I don't know if it was the people because it's two different situations, and the people that I was around when I did acid, like I had a good time with. The people that I did shrooms with made me uncomfortable, and I think that's what the deal was.
Okay, so you needed to have somebody that guided you a little bit better, but so now you're completely clean, nothing at all?
I mean, I'll have like a celebratory drink and, that kind of thing, but I know my limits and I know where I'm at now. And so I don't dabble in drugs or anything, no.
So you don't feel like you're an addict to where you have to go to some AA program and completely get off of things?
Nope, because while I was in rehab, the Bible says, 2 Corinthians 5:17, if any man be in Christ, he's a new creation. Old things have passed and the new has come. So you're cleansed. And so if you can set your mind to that cleansing and follow that, then you're not an addict anymore. It's gone. And so that's what I believe, and that's who I am. And that's, I don't believe that addiction is a disease. That's me personally. A lot of people might disagree with that, but I feel like, it might be a mental disorder, if you will, but nobody, makes, like, cancer just happens to someone sometimes, but a person chooses to drink, a person chooses to do drugs. Like, nobody made that person. Now, can the drugs and the alcohol cause diseases? Yes, but we choose that road. So, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creation. The old things have come or old things have gone and the new has come. And so that's where I stand firm. And so no, I don't feel that way.
Sounds like you're handling your life is what's happening, and you have a good book of instructions that you're living by. That's a very, very good thing. I'm so glad. Oh my goodness. Tricia Boyd. I've done a lot
of self-development too, aside from the Bible, because, the Bible is always the number one book, but, there's other ways that we can grow our mind too. And so I've read books like Boundaries by Henry McLeod. It was a really amazing book. It taught me how to say no and that it's okay to. But it's also set me, given me boundaries to set with my parents. It's given me boundaries to set with other family members and friends and coworkers and when we have kids, and, to not be controlling, but to just let people know, like, this is my life and you can support me for the good things that I'm doing now and not hold my past against me. But if you can't, then that's on you. It's not on me. Another book that I read, which is Lead Like Jesus, and it's something that's really been empowering for me in the business that I'm in, because I have a team full of amazing people. And so, the first year of my business is pretty hard. I was pretty demanding and controlling, and I've had to learn to let go of that. I have a very type A person, and, if you know the color personality chart, red, blue, green, and yellow, red is very direct and very forward, and they want what they want right now, and they're money driven. So I was pretty hardcore on that, but that book has taught me a lot there. The Slightest Edge, I can't remember the name of the author. That was a really good book that I read.
You said, what was the name of that book? Something like Jesus?
Lead Like Jesus.
Lead Like Jesus. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then The Slightest Edge, that's a good book. I also, Girl Wash Your Face by Rachel Hawley. She's just teaches you how to be confident. I've read a lot of books, and I've had to, because there's no way, I don't care if you're 18 or 99, like, we can all learn something new all the time.
Oh, Phil Hodges was Lead Like Jesus then.
Yes.
Very good.
The biggest book that completely changed my life over anything, though, was by Joyce Meyer, Living Beyond Your Feelings. I used to wear my heart on my sleeve. You could say anything. I mean, you could probably give me a compliment, and I got offended. I was emotional. I was broken. And that book completely changed my life. It changed my perspective on who I am. It gave me the confidence to be a woman and to not feel bad for that. It gave me the confidence to not cry every time somebody said something. She's an incredible person. She's somebody that I idol big time anyway. And that book, that one, and Battlefield of the Mind, was a really great book. 2 great books for me.
My goodness, it looks like you're getting a lot of information, gleaning a lot of info from different sources, and you've thrown a lot of good books that I need to take a look at.
Yeah. They're incredible for sure.
Oh my goodness. Well, I think we've gone through your life story. What's the name of your company? You keep alluding to it, and it seems like it's a good company. Is it something that everybody can get in on?
They can. The thing is, I was reading up on my disclosure statements, and I can't actually say the company's name, but I can tell you that if you come to my Facebook page, I can give you all the information that you need if you would like to make some extra income from home, or if you want to get fit and healthy, because that's what I do. I help people live healthier lives and have a better quality of health and to reach financial freedom.
Very good. And that's facebook.com, dreambigger0409. Any other ways to get a hold of you?
Yeah, you can even contact me at my personal cell phone number. It's 501-269-9305. I'm not afraid to share that. I've been a telemarketer before, so that stuff don't bother me. And you can also look me up on Instagram at Tricia L. Boyd. That's TRICIALBOYD.
Very good. As we're wrapping this out, any words of advice you want to give to millions of people that possibly can listen to this?
I think somebody asked me this yesterday, and I kind of shared this earlier, but honestly, just know that through your pain, there is something bigger for you. Like it may hurt in the moment. It may be disgusting. It may feel dirty. You may feel shame and you may feel guilt, but when you finally come to that freedom, like it says in Isaiah 66:9, I will not cause pain without allowing something new to be born. Something amazing is going to come out of your pain and out of your dirtiness and out of your shame and out of your guilt. Because at that place when I was there, I didn't think I could ever change anybody's life. And now I'm touching people one by one. So don't be afraid to share your testimony, because during your pain, the blessing will come. Revelations 12:11 says, by the blood of the Lamb and the word of the testimony, we are healed. So don't be afraid to speak out.
Tricia Boyd, thank you so much for that. I've learned a lot more about you, and so have my listeners. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, my goodness. The pleasure is all on this side of the microphone for sure.
Thank you.
That's all right. Well, you have a great day, and we will chit-chat a little bit later. Tricia Boyd.
All right. Thank you. You too. Bye.
Bye-bye. Oh, my goodness. What makes you famous? You know, Tricia, when we first talked, she said, yeah, I'd love to come on your podcast. And I had no idea of what she went through in her whole life. And that's the whole reason that I started this podcast, What Makes You Famous, is to learn more about people. Everyone has a story. Tricia Boyd definitely had a story. Thank you so much for listening to What Makes You Famous. Keys Dan from RadioWhat.com and DJLittleRock.com. Peace. I'm out of here.
Radio What? The music you want. Hey guys, this is Shelly G with a fast fact. 2 billion videos are watched per day on YouTube. Do you have a fast fact? Share it with us at Interactive Radio, RadioWhat.com.
Adam Hernandez, you need to call your mother. And you're listening to what?
RadioWhat.com.